Hi, everybody. I don't know whether you will hear two introductions or one because the session dropped. So I don't know if it recorded it or not. We are starting again. This is Michael Tabb, course director of both character creation and development, as well as writing for film and animation, which is basically single story screenwriting. Um, uh, we have a couple people now who are in the class, which is great. We are open for questions, so please feel free to join in. I did want to answer the first question as far as giving titles and having titles for your scripts. What a lot of people do is they think about different words that are associated with the genre they're writing so that they can write a title that makes people feel like, oh, I know what kind of movie that is already. Like they'll use, if you're doing a murder mystery thriller, there may be murder in the title, like Murder on the Orient Express or whatever. If you're doing a comedy, you might use the word, silly games, or, playing tag because people think of that as funny or whatever. The title, sometimes what people do is they take the list of these different terms and words that they could associate with either their specific story or their genre, and then pair the most unlikely two words together to grab their attention. That's one way of doing it. Another is just, look, titles. If you come up with a bad title, quite frankly, I'm pretty sure that the marketing department at the company or at the studio that wants to make your show will come up with a better one for you. Let the marketing people do that. That's kind of what they do. But it is good to have. But if you can come up with a great title, obviously, it's a nice way to hook a reader just by the idea of it. Um, as far as inner and outer journey, which Ms. Scruggs asked earlier, and how that works, everything feeds off the premise. If you don't have a premise that has a strong opinion, like Ms. Scruggs has one that is how love conquers or trumps greed, uh, then then you know what you're saying with your movie. Then you can take that and you spin that off into an inner journey has to relate to the premise. So if it's about conquering greed, you know that the character's inner journey character flaw has to start with greed because that's what's getting conquered. So your protagonist's character flaw is greediness. And then you know that whatever the character cure that they have to achieve is the opposite of greediness. I hope you don't mind if I use your work as an example, Miss Scruggs, but it's a good one
Oh,
and it
no,
works.
by all means. I
Okay,
need-
great. So the opposite of that being either charitable or generous or giving. Those are opposites of greediness. Greedy, which would be the flaw there. And then what you have to do is you come up with an outer journey that matches it all. So what is a journey that's going to make somebody realize that the only way to get what they want is to not be greedy, but to be giving? And that's where you figure out what journey, what task, what physical, finite, totally physical, I remind you, physical task that has to be accomplishable. Um, that people will go, oh, this has this endpoint, this is the end goal of it, whether it's winning a race, winning an election, putting a guy away in jail, whatever that finite thing is that has a specific and very clear visual end for your film that achieving that thing will take this person overlooking their greed and becoming more generous in order to achieve it. A hand is raised. Yes,
Yes. Hi, how are you?
wonderful.
Um, I have a question as far as the so the premise is the the main character's opinion. Can
No, no,
instead of
no, it's not.
yes,
Stop right there.
go ahead.
It is not the main character's opinion. As a matter of fact, at the beginning of the movie, the
Can you
character's
please?
opinion is probably the opposite.
Uh-huh.
The premise,
Is there any situation where the character has to prove his opinion to others
no,
rather
not
than
at
to
all.
himself?
Not at
Is
all.
that a good idea?
Listen. Uh, the premise is the author's opinion.
Uh-huh.
It's your opinion.
Right.
It's what you're trying to prove to the audience. You put
Okay.
a character in the middle of the story to prove your opinion.
Okay.
So you are making it so the character proves your opinion. The character probably has the opposite opinion when the story gets going. Like, for
Okay.
example, in Ms. Scruggs' story, the protagonist is going to be very greedy at the beginning, and they're not going to put love first. And they're going
Mm-hmm.
to think love is for probably something like love is for losers, or love is for the weak. And that if you want to succeed in this world and you want all the love you can handle, then get rich. And believe me, you won't be able to fight off the amount of people who will come after you to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
Okay,
so,
thank you.
and then at the end, what they're going to prove is if you want real love, what she's going to prove with her story is that if you actually want real love, greedy isn't going to get you love.
Mm-hmm.
Generosity is. That's why it trumps it.
Okay.
So it's never what the characters don't. We create wants for characters. Characters don't innately want something. The characters will want something that they go after, which is a physical outer journey with a finite, crisp end that we can physically see them accomplish. It's very physical. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but we design all that for one reason, and that is to prove our hypothesis. Our hypothesis is the premise. That's what we're trying to say to the world. And basically, a script is a term paper where you're proving a theory
Uh-huh.
using characters to prove it. And you'll have all these other different characters in the story, and they'll all be arguing against or for what you're trying to prove. And the people who argue against what you're trying to prove are instrumental, like the antagonist. Because if you don't put up a great argument against what you're trying to say, you won't have truly proven your argument at all. Because you only know something is proven if somebody put up a strong argument against it and they lost still.
Mm-hmm.
Does
Right.
that make sense?
Right. Yes, yes, it does.
Okay. Now, did you have another question regarding any of that?
Not regarding that.
Okay. And regarding anything else?
Well, I was going to ask for a few examples of genres that do not mix together. Oh, there's the video.
There you go. I just turned it on. I forgot when the whole thing clicked off that it turned off that as well. Um, yes. Like for example, for me, I talk about this in my book that just came out. But westerns and science fiction,
Uh-huh.
because when you go to see a western,
What's the name of your book?
what?
Excuse me. Where's your book? Do we have that?
No, it just came out, and the university hasn't approved it yet, so we're waiting on that. But it is available on
Oh,
Amazon.
Is
okay.
where?
It is,
Um,
but you don't have to buy it, though I
I
recommend it. It's a
know.
great book
Where is it?
on Amazon. It's called
Oh, okay.
it's called Pre-writing Your Screenplay. It's all about the process of developing a script idea, which is I had this book. I'd written a lot of these articles in different magazines and stuff, and the program director saw them and said, "You know what? You should be teaching character creation." And it's actually because I'd written the first draft of this book that I am teaching that class now. Because
Where is that?
theories are good.
Okay.
And now that it's a published book by the number one textbook publisher in the country, yay, yay.
congratulations.
Huh?
Oh, that's good.
Oh, yeah.
So it
Congratulations.
will. So we need this book now.
It's a good
Okay.
idea. It's not a bad idea, but I can't tell you, nor can I require you to need it because of the fact that you've paid for the education and it's not included in the class, so it's not a requirement. But I think it would be helpful, just like any book would be helpful. There are a lot of great screenwriting books that would be helpful, but we can only recommend two per class. So the one on formatting is very important because we're going to write a scene at the end of the character class, and you use it in screenwriting class. And the other one is a Michael Haig book, who discusses story very well.
Do you have a formatting book?
The formatting book is David Trottier's The Screenwriter's Bible, which should have
Uh-huh.
been given to you
Okay. All right. All right. I got that.
all. Okay, fabulous. So I don't remember what. Oh, I was talking about things that don't go well together. Science fiction is really about a simpler time and simpler when things are simple, and the importance of handling something without all the complexities of technology or modern day. It's kind of getting back to brass tacks on what humanity's about. It also deals a lot with the isolation of the frontier and the Wild West. You know That's not the same thing as science fiction is about the exact opposite. It's how have we changed the world? How are we building upon building and industrialization and technology and things change? The tones are very opposite. Another example of things that don't pair well together for me are thrillers and comedies, because the whole idea of a thriller is that, oh my God, something terrible is going to happen. But if you're making somebody laugh, they're not feeling that thrill. So they don't
Mhm.
go that great together. I do talk about that in the book. There was no room to talk about that really in this class, because as you will find, the class is pretty full of knowledge and information, and any more might just be overkill. But the book will be great if for those of you who are able to get it. It does have things that are not in the class that are helpful.
How
Um,
about how about drama and adventure?
Drama and what?
In adventure?
Okay, this
Yeah.
is there's nothing wrong with that, but let me just say that innately there's comedy and there's drama, right, which are
Mhm.
opposites.
Right.
Other than comedy, truly every other genre is innately already a drama.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Adventure is dramatic. You don't need
Hmm.
drama listed separately because it's an adventure. An adventure has innate drama in it. A thriller is dramatic. A horror film is dramatic. Uh, um, a road movie is dramatic. The only time it's not the contradiction to having it be a drama, if it's not going to be a drama, then you will add comedy to the title and make that be
Okay.
the other genre. But you don't need drama as a co-genre because we expect high stakes in a film, which means
Mhm.
either love or loss of life. That's what the danger is: loss of love or loss of life. Death and lovelessness, and losing the ones we love. Those are the two things that people care about the most. That are universal themes throughout all of the world that we can all understand and fear losing. So those two things are really what it's about. And so innately, it's very dramatic. The situations are dramatic, and the stakes are usually very dramatic. So you don't need to say drama if you're doing an adventure.
Mhm.
You can just say adventure, and then make sure though that if you're writing an adventure, you're gonna want to focus on adventure beats anyway for your story. The adventure is going to have dramatic to it. If you have to if you have to fly across the world and climb the Empire State Building and throw a line up to an airplane to airlift somebody to safety, that adventurous moment, it could be action film. That action or adventure moment is innately dramatic, but you'll want to hone in on that subgenre of drama or adventure. I mean, the subgenres of um, action, adventure, thriller, romance. Um, and then the other way to go is obviously is if you make it an adventure comedy, then you would put comedy in there because comedy is very specific to you're making them laugh. You're not. It's not
Mhm.
the tension is being used in a specific way, if that makes sense.
Right. It does.
But really, except for comma, almost everything is. Look, we talk about subgenres, which are like in comedy you'll have slapstick or things like that, but really everything, if you're looking at sub and sub and sub and the different levels of sub genres, really the
Mhm.
top genre is drama. There's a little
Uh-huh.
comedy off to the side, and then almost everything is under drama, and
Yeah.
thus you pull it out and throw it aside into comedy
Mhm.
because we write about things with real big stakes.
Okay.
So unless you're writing a straight drama that is not an adventure or a road film or a coming of age movie or a musical, then you don't, if it doesn't have anything else. But if you say just a drama, like examples of just dramas are, the life of living in prison,
Mhm.
courtroom movies, things like that. Those are dramas uh,
Okay.
where it's not centered on a specific stylized genre, like I mentioned earlier.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course, my pleasure.
What else?
So romance.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that drama?
Romance? Yes.
Romance.
Yes.
Okay.
Unless you
So,
say romantic comedy.
okay. No, it's not a comedy. And family could be drama too.
Family is
Definitely.
family. It's dramatic. It is
Dramatic.
completely dramatic unless it's a family comedy.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
So I can just put drama on my cheek. That's what I did.
Well, if your movie is about, because yours is about how greed, love trumps greed. So part
Right.
of me would want to say that it could be a romance story, but it could also be about family, how love of family can trump greed as well. They did that in films like Greedy and uh,
Yeah, it's relationship.
yeah. But if it's a romantic relationship, you may be looking at a romance film.
Um, okay, I was torn with that last night, but I had to get it in.
Looking at drama,
So,
you're looking at like jail. You're looking. It's not a crime story necessarily because it's not about the crime. It's about dealing with life situations. It could be like drunk drivers, and the
right,
cause
I
of
got that
that,
in. I
somebody's
got that in mind.
or an illness.
Okay, so I would have to also change my some of my 20 images, 120 images, and then you wanted us to write phrases, right, instead of just one word. Is that what I'm hearing, or is that what I
It would be
read?
better. Look, sometimes just to get something down on a piece of paper, you start with just single words, like candles. You think romance, you think candles, and then you could add, fancy dinner by candlelight. You can flesh it out more as the more you work on it. You might say slow dance at first, or the tango for a romance, and then you might flush that out a little more and flesh it out and say tango competition in Reno, Nevada, you know,
Okay.
or in Paris, or in Spain and Portugal. You could say hearts, and then you go back to that and you say, what about hearts? What two hearts coming together physically? How do hearts come together? And we want to keep things physical. It's about imagery. Don't forget the lists aren't just about the genre, but they're things we can physically see. So if you're thinking hearts, two heart-shaped Valentine's candies come together with a kissing sound. Boom. Now you've given it something cute and romantic. You may never use that. It may be too cliche or silly. But the idea is you're coming up with ways, because we write in visual mediums. Um, whether it's movies or television or episodic, comic books, video games, it's all about the visuals. So the list of images has to be about pictures, not just ideas or thoughts or reminiscences of a genre. They have to be actual physical pictures and actions that remind you of the genre specifically. You wouldn't say hotel room or bedroom necessarily for any genre, but you could say the hotel room where the mistress always met her lover. Now you're into some kind of now you're getting into something more romantic in nature. Um,
Okay.
so, don't just put classroom. I mean, you could start that for a coming of age story because usually it's about young people coming of age. It could be, a junior high or a high school kid or even a college kid. That's coming of age stuff. But then you'd want to flesh out more about what happens in that classroom that would make it more coming of age. Classroom being put in front of the classroom. Sweaty and not knowing the answer. That's a coming of
So,
age moment.
so when do we actually get your feedback? After Sunday? After
Uh,
the revision?
Everything is turned in on Sunday. This is
Okay.
let's talk about the process. Every week in both classes, except for the third week in screenwriting. Every week in both classes, you do a rough draft of what the week's lessons are for your personal story, and you post it by Wednesday night at midnight. Then you have 3 days or 2 days to give 3 sets of feedback as explained in the work group assignment, to post feedback for 3 people you call dibs on. You do not have to call dibs on the people who call dibs on you, but you do have to make sure that you do not call dibs on somebody who already has 3 people giving them feedback. That way, everybody's going to get 3 sets of feedback. So you call dibs immediately after everybody posts everything on Wednesday, so that you do that Thursday morning. You give feedback on the 3 things as instructed by the work group, and on Friday you post that feedback, and then you consider those 3 sets of feedback. You don't have to do everything they say. You're the writer. But I do suggest that if they quote a rule, make sure that rule is correct and then apply it necessarily to it. And you can decide what notes to take and what notes not to take before you turn in a final draft for grading on Sunday. And then after Sunday, you've had a week. Everybody in both classes has a week to put together the assignment. I have a week to grade it. So everything is turned in by Sunday. I'll have notes for you by the next Sunday. Now, if I can get it to you before then, I will. Obviously, that would be my aspiration, so that you have some time with my feedback. I try to get the notes to everybody by Friday, so that when you're getting notes from your classmates, you also have my last week's notes to use also when you're applying notes anyway for after Friday.
Okay, great. Now, my other question is, now, as far as preparing for, and I know we don't get a grade for the test, but it is for our knowledge base. So how do we prepare?
Where you're falling short so that you can study it.
How do we, prepare for those tests?
All the information that's in all those tests are either in the reading material or in the class's lessons themselves and their attachments. Everything is in there.
The reading material prior to that we're reading every week.
Yeah.
So those answers should be in there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Mm-hmm. Everything on there is in there.
I have not found the tests.
Okay.
They're in week 4. In
week 4?
Creation, the tests are in week 4.
Oh, okay. Okay. So.
Okay.
In writing for film and television, writing for film and animation, which is screenwriting, in that class, there is 1 test a week to make sure you're picking up.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So,
but that's not
how do I prepare for that?
Mm-hmm.
It's just reading the weekly.
Reading all the articles. All the answers are in the articles.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know, Mr. Professor Tabb. I don't know about that. Okay, I just.
Have you gone through the questions?
Okay.
I'm sorry. What was that?
I
was just asking Stephanie if she had gone through the questions. If she had.
I tried to. Well, I think I'm more. No, I have not, because I think he has them locked until we get to that point. But I'm trying to prepare.
Yes.
Now, because we have to take the test on Saturday, and I want to be I want to prepare for the test.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying as we read, I guess we need to prepare.
You always go back,
and then not knowing how to get. Is there questions? Can we go before we take the test and get the questions so we can study for them? No.
Once you open it, you can print up the articles that you're all reading and the lessons and have them with you while you go through the test. But I believe once you open the test, you can't close it, and because when you close it, it totals it out.
Okay, I can open it up as long as I don't answer anything. But I can
out the articles from now. All those articles that are that I have links to for all the assignments. Though, if you actually wind up buying the book, all the stuff from all those articles are already in the book.
Oh, so it's already written out.
That's right. So those are written in the book if you want one source. But otherwise, you can use the free
article. How long would it take to get the book? And how much is the book?
It's Amazon, so I assume you could get it like in a day or 2.
How much is the book?
Have somewhere between. It's decided by the publisher, not me. So it depends on the week. Right now, I think it's like 30 something dollars.
Okay.
All right.
I'll call and see what's up with that. So you can get it in a day or two?
Yeah, yeah. I have a link to it on my. If you look up Course Director tab on Facebook, I have a link to the book to the page where you can buy it off of my Course Director tab page.
Okay. All right. Okay. So until I can get the book, I can open up the test and study that way as long as I don't answer anything. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, once you open up the test, you cannot close it or it totals it out.
Oh, I
So
see.
do
Okay.
yourself a favor, and if you don't have the book, that's fine. All you have to do is print up the articles that are the links and the lessons from the class. Like,
And we'll be able to do the test on week 4. Until then, we're not going to be able to yes, okay, because we have to
Okay.
go through all of this.
Just have
So
to work.
and then
is
there are
it
two
one or
tests.
2 tests? I
And there
haven't
are
checked.
two tests at the end of week 4 for character creation class. One is based on the characters and premise and genre,
Mm-hmm.
which are the basic things, the 5 different characters which you'll learn about during the class, and how to use them and how they act during a story and what their each job is. Each one has a job to do, and that's explained in the articles that are linked to from the classes. And then there's another one on script formatting because you have to write your first scene at the end of class using characters from the script.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm more interested later on in animation, how do I get more information about that? I know you have some things
Mm-hmm.
written on animation. Do you
Yeah.
have any of that in your book, in your personal book?
The book is all about the process of creating things, and I talk about some of the films I mentioned are animated. If you're looking for more animation material, just strictly animation, we all have. Do we still have the Google thing? The Google Books.
Yeah,
Google
I
Books
think we.
has books on animation. You should check it out.
Now, I know you had some in your deep learning, some things on,
Yes.
I believe I read something on that. But if we really don't have the time to read that and get into that, will that be around after this class, that
Yeah,
information, or should I have?
you have access to the Google Books, at least as far as I know, uh, throughout your time as a student in the program. It's only pulled at the end after you graduate.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
What do I do to, how can I save that information? Just, do I have to download all of that and copy it?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right. We'll figure it out.
We give you a lot of information and a lot of things at your fingertips in this class and in this program in this school. It is a lot. You're right, and that's how at the end we can claim you become a master. An MFA mastery is what's required. So a
Well,
lot of
okay.
information to learn, but that's what you need to be a master of something.
10,000 hours, they say. Um, okay, that would be worth downloading. I can copy that. I could buy the ink to get that
Yeah.
down. To get that done. Okay.
Any other questions?
I think not for now until I get to writing again. I'm sure I'm going to have a lot, but I think you gave me a foundation.
Great. Now let me talk about the assignments that are due at the end of this week for each of the classes, just to give you a little piece. Now I had a lot of questions, which is weird in my character creation class this month. People asking questions I'm not used to ever getting. So put simply, as the assignment says, I already explained the schedule on doing the assignments. It's Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday submissions. Uh, on
I
Sunday,
have that. I downloaded that.
yes. And then on the end, at the end and at the beginning, what you're supposed to have for the character creation class is three different hypotheses slash premises. Three different ones, three different opinions, all about something real and something that's not cliche, something that has real meaning to you, and something you want to fight to prove and teach the world. If this is your last breath on earth, what would you want to say to the world, and what would you like them to get through their thick skulls? Because this is your chance to do it to a large group of people, to give them information. So what is it you want to say? And make sure it's not a cliche. Don't waste your time writing a movie saying something everybody already knows or has heard being said a million times. Find your own trick to it. If it's inspired by something that's cliche, fine, but then go deeper and tell us how that works or why it works that we don't understand, and why is it still so difficult for some people to get it if we're still doing it, if we're still arguing over it. What is the thing that makes it possible that people aren't saying, that's not part of the cliche, but is actually insight into how to achieve that cliche, so that you add something to it that is instrumental in achieving it. Therefore, it's not just the cliche. We don't want to be cliche. We don't ask questions. You're giving them answers. Don't forget, you are giving them the answer to something. You're not saying it's this versus that or whatever. No, this isn't a theme. This is your opinion, and it has to be a strong opinion, and it has to mean something deep. It has to mean something that's worth fighting for, worth characters putting their lives and their loves on the line for. So it's.
And this is for this week.
Yes, everybody's doing premise this week also, because even in
Right.
screenwriting class, you're solidifying the idea that you're using in that class to write a script by having a premise for that project as well. So everybody's doing premise this week. Also, for each premise, you have to have 1 to 2 genres at most. So the genre is going to be the fitting atmosphere or type of story for telling and revealing that opinion.
Right.
And then you will be listing a number of visual ideas, visual actions, physical visual actions and things that match the genre you've selected, not necessarily the premise. This is about making sure that if you've picked this genre, that you are starting to picture the genre in your head. Before, as you start to try to figure out how to bring premise to the genre, you're also figuring out, okay, so what does the movie have to look like? Let's put some images down on paper to remind myself this is what an audience is going to expect to see when I write a movie that's set in this world, in this genre. And so the first class, character creation and development, is going to do, they only have to do 40 images, 40 visuals per genre
Yeah.
listing. So if you use 2 genres on one idea, that's 80 images for that one idea. It's not just 40. And you separate the genres. Don't put 2 genres together in one list. No, no, no. This is what you need from this genre, and this is what you need from this genre, and they are separate lists, and they have at least 40 for each. Then, if you're in the advanced class, in the screenwriting class, you're doing 120 images of each genre. So, I would never start writing unless I had a list of 120. But the good thing is, once you started doing these genre lists, you can build them throughout your life. You never have to throw them away. You don't have to use the images in your movie. It's just helping your brain wrap around the idea of the world and the style you're going to make your point in. You're going to make your premise appear in.
So for Sunday, do we have 40 per genre or
Yes.
140
Well,
per genre?
which class?
I have a question that I forgot to ask when we were still talking about the visual images. So I have my visual images.
Which class are you in?
I am in the premise right now. The premise and the genre. Okay, so character development.
You're in character development. Yes, you
Yes.
have to do 40 for each genre you name each time you name it. So
40 for genre each time I name it. Yes, that I got. I was going to ask the for example, I have visual images that to me, for example, for comedy, to me, I can picture them being funny. But you can also put them in an adventure. You can also put them in a would that make how clear they have to be to anybody else reading them?
Funny's the hardest one because you have to make it literally funny. Give me an idea of an image.
For let me just a second. Comedy, visual. Buying a woman online.
Buying a woman what?
Online. People like weird guys that buy women online. Now, I think a guy who does
That could be a romance or it could be a comedy.
I have it on the
Talking about a
comedy.
mail order bride system.
Something like that.
Okay.
Another one that it's funny to me, but it can be put in a different genre is, for example, an 80-year-old woman getting out of the closet, realizing at 80 she's a lesbian.
Okay.
So
I don't know if that's funny. I don't know if that's funny. In mail order brides, I don't know if it's funny. Find ways to make it funny. You know, a mail order bride. What makes that? What would make it funnier? Think about it for a second.
That would like. I picture him being.
Bride gets shipped.
He's kind
a mail order bride is bought by a gay man. That is funnier because of the juxtaposition.
Okay.
You see? You make the funny. Coming out of the closet at a certain age, that's not necessarily funny. That's really a coming of age story. But an 80-year-old coming out to her tough as nails wrestler family, world wrestler, Midwestern corn and grits eating family. That would make it funnier.
Okay.
And then in that, while she's coming out to one of the kids who looks like the toughest, worst one of all, he's like, "I'm gay too." Oh my God, that's fabulous! Let's go shopping. No, that's okay. Sorry. Sorry, that could actually be considered offensive, so I apologize. It just goes to show you how cliches have put images in our head of ideas for how people behave when that's not how gay people behave. Some gay people, but anyway.
Some do. Some act like that.
It's still fun. I love all people. Okay, so but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right. So the mail order isn't funny, but a gay man mail ordering a bride because he's homosexual so that he can get married in the country and get some health care, that could be funny. Because the mail order bride thinks she's going to find her man and get romance and all that. She gets there and, everybody calls him Captain Fabulous. And he loves to wear feather boas to work.
Well, for this particular one, I didn't word it properly, I guess. But for this particular one, I imagined a guy who's very timid, very shy, but he wants a girl so bad. And then he has all this weird, this woman, you buy this woman, for example, like you buy her a ticket, she comes here, all that. And she is gorgeous. She is confident. She's like, for example, a foreign, and you are like the guy is timid. He doesn't know what to do with women, and there would be interesting situation happening, funny circumstances happening with these two very different people coming together.
Right. So
this
one of the things
I kind of had in mind.
The mail order bride is ordered by a guy who has no idea how to talk to women.
Yes, that's what I was trying to go with. Okay.
So it's like, have you ever seen the show Big Bang Theory?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like Raj at the beginning of the show, but never talked to women.
Yes,
and
yes.
If you ordered a mail bride.
A Raj type of person, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Nothing I can think of right now. I'll probably think something 2 hours from now.
All right. I have a call with a producer in 8 minutes, so let me finish going over this real quick.
Okay, one more question. When are you going to post this?
I will send an email to everybody when it's posted.
when you post this?
So in the in the screenwriting class, you are
Uh-huh.
not only doing a premise and the 120 images and the genre, you're also doing a protagonist's inner journey, outer journey, an antagonist goal, a mentor, a reflection character, and a love interest, and a log line. All of
Okay.
that for your new story, or it could be one of the old stories you used. But I have to give everybody a chance to come up with new stories because some of the people in character class are coming up with their TV ideas. So those ideas were already used in the television episodic class. So now,
Oh,
for
okay.
those who had to start over, who didn't come up with a film idea originally, I got to give them time to catch up and do all these things for the film idea. And then
Okay.
for those of you who did do a film idea last time, chances are you ended the class getting a lot of notes on what I gave you anyway, and you can use the time to redo it.
To go back and review those.
That's right.
Then, okay.
And then let's do this.
Oh, I lost my
Any last questions?
thought. I was going to ask you. Okay. Okay. I lost it,
Okay.
but
Well, you have my
I'm sure
email,
it's going to come back.
and everybody has my Facebook.
Okay.
Course Director Tabb. It'll be a picture of my book in the back. It's like a picture of my book or something.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to look into that book, but I doubt if I get it for this test.
That's fine.
It was nice meeting you, Christina.
Yeah. Nice to meet you too, Stephanie. It's Katerina. Don't worry about it. Thank you, guys. Do we need to go through the lesson again next week? Are we going to talk about different stuff next week?
Yeah, next week everybody
Okay.
asks questions again, and then I go over the assignments for the next week. That's what I do each week.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great
Okay,
day.
thank you,
My pleasure.
Professor.
Bye-bye.
Bye.